Hi and welcome to Priori Digital Studio tutorial. In this video, I will show you how to set up and use your POD Etsy bookkeeping in the most efficient way. So this tutorial is the same if you use our Printful Etsy bookkeeping or our Printify Etsy bookkeeping. Those two products are very similar. In this video, I am using Google Sheets, but the Excel version is almost the same. On an important note, we protect most of the cells where there are formulas to make sure that you don't erase any important formulas that could impact the spreadsheet. So if you see this message, it means that you're not supposed to touch it. But don't worry, you can simply click on the X and it should be fine. We also will show you step by step how to prepare your spreadsheet. The first tab of the spreadsheet is the Setup tab. In this tab, you will set up all your information needed for this spreadsheet. In step 1, you have to enter your company name. So let's say Priori Digital Studio. You can simply type in the name of your company. Then you can simply type in your currency symbol. We are in dollars, so we will simply type in the dollar sign, but you can type in any sign. In step 2, enter the date where you want to start this spreadsheet. In our case, we will type in 2023 since we want to show you some past data, but it works also in 2024, 2025, you see the drill. Then you can use the drop-down menu to select the month. We will choose February. In step 3, enter all the different income and expense categories you think you will need. On an important note, do not enter any data from Etsy or Printful or Printify, any of those two third-party supplier in this tab. And only add income and expense categories from your business outside of Etsy or those two third-party supplier. For example, if you do have a Shopify store or a physical store, that's the perfect section for you. So in the income, we can add things like Shopify sales, physical store sales, TikTok shop, AdSense, you see the drill. And then in the expense, we can add things like Shopify fees, your cost for raw materials, Google ads, marketing, office furniture, or supplies. Don't worry, you can add more categories later if needed. You simply have to type in the category. Now let's have a look at the transaction tab. The transaction tracker is one of the key parts of the bookkeeping section. Once again, don't enter any data about Etsy or Printify or Printful in this table. This tab is very intuitive. You just have to write the date of the transaction, the invoice number, and use the drop-down menu to select the transaction type, either income or expense. And then use also the drop-down menu to select the category. Then you can enter the net amount and the sales tax. The total amount is automated, so you do not need to enter any data. You also have room to write a description or a special note if needed. So as you can see in this tab, we also have a column in light gray. The light gray cells means that there are formulas in it, so you do not need to enter any information. It's totally automated. So it's the same principle for the whole spreadsheet. So every time you see a gray cell, you don't have to enter any information. So now let's take an example. Let's scroll down a little bit, and I left some empty rows, for example. So if you are in Google Sheets, you can simply double click here and you will see a calendar appearing. So let's just click on September 15. So now let's enter an invoice number. So let's say 00076. And then let's use the drop-down menu to choose income. And then again, use the drop-down menu to choose the category. So let's say Shopify sales. And then let's enter $500. That's the net amount. So this is the tax amount. So let's enter $15. So as you can see in the total column, we can see that it is $515. So now let's take an example for the expense. So let's enter a date here. By the way, if you are on Excel, make sure to type in the dates. Then let's enter an invoice number. So here 77, and then select expense. And then in the category, let's select raw materials. Then let's enter $1,000. For the tax, let's enter $100. And as you can see again, the total amount is $1,100. So now let's scroll up so we can see the column title. And as you can see, we have description or notes. So you can simply type in the information. So let's say in expense, we can write wood. This is what we bought. And we could write anything here just to give you more information on your purchase or income. So now let's have a look at the Etsy statement tab. This tab allows you to compile all your data from Etsy. In this tab, there is no need to write any data. All the data will be pasted from your Etsy CSV. So this is the only tab where I will show you how to use the spreadsheet both in Google Sheets and Excel, since there is a small difference between them. So first step for this tab is to download your monthly statement from Etsy. So let's go directly on Etsy, and then let's go on the Shop Manager, and then simply go on Finances, then click on Monthly Statements. So then you will see a similar page to this. And at the bottom right corner, you will find a button to generate a CSV file with all your data of the month. So click on this button, and depending on the number of sales you made during the month, it could take some time. When it is ready to be downloaded, you will get a notification by email and the button will change for download. So now let's wait it out. So as you can see, when the CSV is ready, the button is now black and it's written download CSV. Click on this button and you will be able to find a CSV file in your downloads. By the way, a CSV file is a file where all your data is separated by a comma, and you can open this file with multiple applications. But in our case, we want to open it in a spreadsheet. Once your Etsy CSV is downloaded, if you use Google Sheet, you can open a new spreadsheet by clicking on File, New, and Spreadsheet. As you can see, another spreadsheet, empty spreadsheet, will open another tab. Then click on File, Import, and then you can browse your computer by clicking on Upload and then Browse. Then go to your downloads, find your download, and then import it. A pop-up window will appear. Select Replace Spreadsheet, Detect Automatically, and then tick the box. It is really important to tick the box. And then click on Import Data. So it may take a few seconds if you do have a lot of data. So then your spreadsheet will look like that. Then you have to select all your data except the first row with your mouse, or by clicking on Control, Shift, and arrow down. As you can see, all your data will be selected. Then you have to copy those data. So click on Control and then C. So as you can see, we do have a lot of data, so it can take a few seconds. And the way you know it's ready is when you see this dotted line. So now we know that all the data are copied. You can go back to the Etsy Bookkeeping Spreadsheet and then paste your data in the cell J8. To paste your data, you can simply click on Control, Shift, and V. Again, we do have a lot of data, so this might take a few seconds. Do not panic. Let the software import all the data correctly. As you can see here, the spreadsheet is calculating everything and it is extracting the important data. So that was how we import data for Google Sheets. Now I will show you how to do the same process for Excel. So as you can see, the Excel template is very similar to our Google Sheet template. So first thing first, open your Etsy CSV file with Excel. So go find your CSV in your downloads. In my case, I already opened it. Once it is open, if it looks like this and your data are on different columns, you don't have to do anything. If your data are all in the first column A, then select your column by clicking on the letter A. Then open the data ribbon and click on text to column here. A window will open. Then in step 1, select the limited. Then click on Next. In step 2, untick everything except comma. Then click on Next. And finally, in step 3, simply click on Finish. In my case, I do not need to do it since my data were imported correctly. So once you have data that looks like this, then you select all your data except the first row with your mouse. So we are doing the exact same process as the Google Sheet. So to select your data, simply click on Control, Shift, arrow right, and then arrow down. So as you can see, all our data are selected. Then to copy them, you simply have to click on Control and C. If you do have a lot of data, it might take time, and wait until you see this dotted line. This means that all your data is properly copied. Then go back to your Etsy Bookkeeping Excel spreadsheet and then paste your data in cell K8. To do so, simply click on Control, Shift, and V. It might take a little bit of time if you do have a lot of data. So as I said, this tab is quite big, so you know all the data is imported when you see everything written in the gray cells. This part is all the important data extracted from your CSV file. So now let's go back to Google Sheet template since the process is exactly the same for Excel and Google Sheets. Since you can only extract a CSV from Etsy 1 month at a time, you will have to enter month by month all your data. So at the end of a new month, simply add your new data to the following empty row. To easily access the next empty row, go to column J and then click on Control and arrow down. This is going to bring you to the next empty row. Then you can simply copy paste your data just like what we did in this empty row. So now let's take a look at the Printful statement tab. If you use the Printify Etsy Bookkeeping Spreadsheet, you could simply skip this section of the tutorial and directly go to the Printify statement tab. This tab allows you to compile all your expenses from Printful. In this tab, there is no need to write any data. All the data will be pasted from your Printful CSV. So the principle is exactly the same as for the Etsy statement tab. You simply have to open the CSV file from Printful using the exact same method as for Etsy, and then paste your data in cell B8. So now let's open our Printful source file or CSV. Copy the data, so click on Control, Shift, arrow right, then arrow down, then click on Control and C to copy your data. It might take a little bit of time until you see the dotted line if you do have a lot of data. And then go back to your Etsy and Printful bookkeeping, then go to cell B8 and then click on Control, Shift, and V. So as you can see, all your data is pasted. Again, it might take a little bit of time if you do have a lot of data. So once your first report is pasted, just like this, and you want to paste more data from another month or later on, simply go to the next empty row. To do so, click on Control and arrow down. It will bring you to the next empty row. Then simply paste your data here. Now let's go to the Printify statement so I can show you how it works. So as you can see, the Printify statement is a little bit different, but the principle is exactly the same. So if you use the Printful Etsy Bookkeeping Spreadsheet, you could simply skip this section and directly go to the Global Report tab. This tab allows you to compile all your expenses from Printify. In this tab, there is no need to write any data. All the data will be pasted from Printify CSV. So the principle is exactly the same as for the Etsy statement tab. You simply have to open the CSV file from Printify using the exact same method as for Etsy, and then paste your data in cell G8. So now let's go to the Printify CSV to copy the data. So again, we do the same thing as the Etsy statement. You simply click on Control, Shift, and arrow to the right until you get all the data. And then click on arrow down. So as you can see now, we selected all our data, and to copy it, simply click on Control and C. Wait until you see a dotted line. It means that all your data is copied. Now let's go back to our Printify Etsy Bookkeeping and paste your data. Click on Ctrl, Shift, and V. As you can see, it can take a little bit of time to import your data, but you know that everything is extracted when you see the data in the gray cells. So once your first report is pasted and you want to paste more information, you will have to go to the next empty row. To quickly go to the next empty row, simply click on Ctrl and arrow down. As you can see here, you can simply paste your data in the next empty cell. So if you use Excel either to extract your CSV from Printful or Printify, the process is exactly the same as for the Etsy bookkeeping. So now let's have a look at the Global Report tab. So let's unzoom a little bit to see this tab better. You click on the zoom, then click on 75%. So as you can see, this tab has a lot of data. So this tab is basically a summary of all the data or graphs from the rest of the spreadsheet. So this report is a way for you to easily visualize your business performance. You do not have to write any information, everything is automated. You could even bring this report to your accountant to help him or her do your end-of-year financial statement. So if you would like to print this report, you could simply click on the printing icon. Then you can simply play with the setup to make sure it fits in one page or several pages. So now let's have a look at the monthly tab. In this tab, the only thing you need to set up is the year and the month. So simply type in the year that you want to see your data. So for us, we were in 2023, and then use the drop-down menu to select a month. So let's select August. Then as you can see, everything is auto-populated. At the top of the page, you have all the data of your global business. So the data compiled in your transaction tracker, the Etsy statement tab, as well as the Printful or Printify statement tab. So basically you can see all your business data. Just below, you have all the graphs for your Etsy business. And then if you scroll down, all the data of your Etsy business separated by income, Etsy fees, Etsy marketing, and Etsy delivery for each day of the month. The gray area represents the total for the month. Then if you continue to scroll down, you have the summary of your expenses for Printful. Printify works the exact same way. So as you can see at the bottom in the blue table, you can also see your profit from Etsy in Printful, the net income, meaning that it's all the income and expense from Etsy minus all your expenses from Printful. So this is a very important number for all my fellow Etsy sellers who are wondering how much they make doing POD. Then if you continue to scroll down, you have all the summary of your income and expense for the month from outside of Etsy. So this is basically all the data you entered in the transaction tracker. So if you scroll down to the bottom of this tab, you can see your global business revenue, including all your revenue from Etsy, Printful, or Printify, and everything you make outside of platforms. Then you can also see your global business expense, and then your global business profit, as well as your global business profit margin. So all those four numbers are really important for you to understand your overall business performance. So as you can see in this tab, you really have all the information to understand your overall monthly business performance. So now let's have a look at the quarterly tab. The quarterly tab has very similar information to the monthly tab, but you can easily see your data over a 3-month period. So just like the monthly tab, the first and only thing you want to do is to select the year and the month. Don't forget, the rest of the tab is auto-populated for an easier use of the spreadsheet. So we can have a quick look over the spreadsheet here. As you can see, you have all your Etsy information, Printify or Printful information, as well as outside of Etsy information. So now let's have a look at the annual tab. The annual dashboard is very similar to the two previous tabs. You first have to select the year and the start month. So simply type in the year and then use the drop-down menu to select the month. So basically this tab shows you the data for a 12-month period. So as you can see here, again, you have all your Etsy data divided by month, and then you have your Printful or Printify data, and then outside of Etsy or Printful, Printify data. And then at the bottom, you have your global business performance. Now let's have a look at the 3 years tab. This tab works the same way as all the other tabs. In this tab, you will be able to see your business performance over 3 years. You first have to write the year and select your start month using the drop-down menu for 3 years. So in our case, we started our business in 2023. That's why you only see data for 2023. However, if you started your business, for example, in 2020, you would see your data for a period of 3 years. So now let's have a look at the custom tab. This tab works the same way as all the other tabs. However, you can decide which interval of date you want to check your business performance. So double click on the date and select the date where you want to start, then select the end of the period you want to see. If you are on Google Sheet, you simply double click, and as you can see, you will see a small calendar where you can click on a date. So the rest of the information shown is the same as all the other tabs. So now let's have a look at the comparison tab. The comparison tab works just like the other tabs and lets you compare and analyze 3 different intervals of time. It could be within the same year or an interval of time in another year. This tab is very useful to compare things like Black Friday sales with your Christmas sales within the same year, for example, or your Black Friday sales over a 3 years period. To choose the interval, double click on the date if you are in Google Sheets, and then type in if you are on Excel, and then this way choose the interval of time that you want to analyze. Then in the name column, you can simply give this interval a name for a simple use of this spreadsheet. So now let's have a look at the taxes tab. In the tax tracker tab, you will be able to track all your sales tax paid and collected, as well as the taxes you paid via Etsy or Printful and Printify. This tab also shows you the information over a 12-month period. So the first thing you want to do is to choose the start date. So again, type in the year and use the drop-down menu to select a month. At the top of the page, you can see the Etsy and Printful or Etsy and Printify, sales tax paid, and the sales tax collected and paid outside of Etsy or the other platforms. The Etsy sales tax paid represent the sum of all the taxes collected by Etsy and often redeemed to authorities like listing fees tax, transaction fees tax, processing fees tax, and so on. And then this is exactly the same principle for Printful sales or Printify sales tax. You also have a comprehensive graph with all these data over a 12-month period. Beneath the graph, you have a similar information but with the money value. So that's it. I hope this tutorial helps you easily set up your spreadsheet. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or concerns. Follow Priori Digital Studio on Etsy and YouTube for sneak peeks on our new templates.